Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. All right, well, it's Friday. I don't think we have any major news today, do we? I think it's a no news Friday. There you are, Uzi. We were wondering where you were. We needed to know where the IV level was. Probably didn't matter yesterday, right? What a day yesterday. I'm still not entirely sure what was. I don't think that anybody is still entirely sure. You were out cleaning? Dude, that was one of the craziest moves in the dollar I have ever seen yesterday. And I still have not seen. I think everybody in the market is a little, I don't know what's going on. Like, I was watching, who is it? What's the name of the guy from Doubletree Capital? Yesterday, he did his regular interview with the CNBC guys, and he was betting on the dollar declining. Even he, I think, was a little bit like taken back, like didn't know why the dollar rose so much yesterday, but he thought it was an aberration and the dollar was going to go back down. You clean an office building, an extra $1,500 a week, though. So, wow, that's not bad. Okay, well, let's go and look at the charts and we'll see what we're talking about, okay? So, the 10-year Treasury took a huge leg down yesterday. They recovered overnight, but then just got obliterated. They are lower. We are now kind of just barely bouncing off of yesterday's lows at the moment. S&P 500 doing okay. Well, it was pretty good overnight yesterday. Since then, it's kind of been, I don't know, lackluster. But it's okay. It's Friday. Now, the thing is, we've got a pretty big options expiration, right? So, it might be quiet today. And then on next week, we might get the unclenching. So, hold on to your seats, right? Hold on to your hats. Is the phrase, right? Anyways, oil, an interesting little 3-day downtrend in oil. Gold and silver, well, gold took the hit too, but it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad in silver, and that's the thing, is that like when the treasuries were moving down, everything was moving down, and the dollar was moving up. Just for those of you that are like concerned about the dollar, the dollar going down is usually good for markets. Copper, still kind of ranging after that move down. And the Japanese yen took a pretty big hit yesterday as well. Bitcoin, downside, but only like the past day. I wonder when I come back over here, was yesterday, can we still see yesterday? Yeah. Let's see here. It was this thing. Okay, yeah. The euro was dropping too. So it was just across all of the currencies. Yeah, man, I gotta close that. I'm still convinced that Epic Pen has a memory leak. Okay, and then Uzi sent us the picture of yesterday's stuff. So it looks like, oh, we want ZN. Was it here? Yeah. Yeah, it was actually, oh, no, that's interesting. Where it stopped was actually just short of one of the legs. Okay. See, yesterday, when we were looking at it, we were looking at 113 even, and we were kind of like, well, that's probably going to be some support. And it was for a bit, and then it went. And by that point, it was like already felt like it was like way too late. Felt like it was way too late. But it was not a flow that I was expecting at all. At all. And it was just a really powerful flow. And a really powerful flow in the dollar. So I think that what happened was somebody put a basis trade back on. They moved their money over to the dollar, and then they turned around and they bought up the US market because later in the day they did end up buying the S&P 500 pretty heavily. So that's my thinking. It doesn't really help us today, but today we have a options expiration. Right? Okay. I'll make sure I got everything running here. In News Squawk, I didn't start that. Twitter. Trump and Xi have started a phone call. Okay. Well, I don't know why that's on the econ calendar. Like, we can all listen to it. Oh, is that on the econ calendar? What? Trump and Xi? I only see that on Twitter. Moran is speaking. That could be a big deal. Trump. Oh, you're right. It is on the financial juice thing. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that is interesting. Why is that on there? We can't listen to it. But it could mean. I mean, I guess the thing is we probably will get a headline later, probably during this session, that will probably try to spur optimism about a deal with China, but won't actually be any real news. That's the way that it usually goes, right? I clicked a link earlier for virus compression where and the first color that they show is this absolutely hideous green. What? That's what you're gonna lead with, huh? No, stop that. You want like blue or black. Virus, you want black, right? Oh, they don't have a black. Huh. Well, anyways. TCJ is a completely different business. You is mostly a fake business cosplaying a UEC, but no actual. No, they're just a uranium ETF. I thought. I was thinking about buying Krispy Kreme instead. You know what I wish I bought, man? Dude, every frickin' day. Cause before we got put on the find a new job journey, the number one thing on my list was buy some Intel. Buy some Intel. And I didn't do it. Would I have done it if I hadn't lost a job? Oh, I could have still done it. I mean, I still got some cash. But I was focused on different things, right? If I'd been focused on that, would I have bought it? I don't know, but it's like up like what? 50% from where we were looking at it? Your brother brought it? Good for him. Do you think, I wonder if it's got more to go or not? Because the issue I have now with Intel is that it's not doing well because, like, their business has improved, right? It's doing well because Donald Trump has decided it's a strategic asset and has convinced all these people to put money into it. So, what is the upside from here if I'm going to hold it for 5 years compared to other assets? I don't know. But as a short-term trade, that was a good trade, and I missed it. Seth, are you a quant professionally? No. Nope. All in my spare time. And the thing that's kind of sucks about what we do is that I know a lot of, especially about market microstructure. I think that we've really become experts on that, but there's only so much you can actually do with that as a retail trader, unfortunately. So then you can get into the more of the quant field, like portfolio optimization. It's kind of where I've been studying more. And machine algorithms and things like that. I'm back into this world where it's just I don't feel like I have enough time. I feel like I have enough time. What do? I am a site reliability engineer. So I'm mostly dealing with application architecture and debugging production issues. What are they talking about in chat now? It looks like they realized that the Charlie Kirk killer was a furry. Okay. I told you guys that a week ago. It's funny to me. I made a video on TikTok on Thursday, was it? I think it was last Thursday. Basically saying he was a furry. And people were like laughing about it. It's not funny. He was a furry. I know it sounds ridiculous because furries are just silly people online, right? But I'm telling you, man, furry communities have issues. Do they have issues? It's I keep coming back to like there are like certain markers, things that like if you go to a community and you see this particular problem is persistent in that community, just walk away, run. That's not a place that is going to be helpful or beneficial to you. And one of them that the furries deal with is hypersexualization of everything. Yeah, in any community they're focused way too much on sex. That's a problem. Anyways, I'm getting off. I let myself get pulled off. I was really doing was I was complaining about I don't feel like I have enough time to do things. I get home 6 o'clock, go to sleep at 9, so it gives me 3 hours to do stuff. Like that's if I had all that 3 hours to go into a project, then that would be great. But it don't work like that. So I'm in that space again. I don't know. If I went back on the job market and was like interviewing full time, it would probably be better than it was before. Probably would be better than it was before because Asher's in school all day. And Ethan is able to at least like sit down and watch a video now. So we could probably chill in the office all day and I could work on projects or something. But I bet you that if I had the time and I put more time into my trading platform, I think I would probably get like a week before I would be like, okay, well, this is as far as I think I should take this right now. Probably what would happen. Which is fine, because then I guess I could get into machine learning algorithms more. Now, the one thing is that I have, because of the day job, been able to get more into large language model stuff. So I actually think that I've got a lot of good experience now that I could probably, with a subscription and maybe a couple of other things, get the large language model to take like discretionary trades, like based on macro news. So that could be interesting, right? We still need to make speculator Seth GPT, I guess. Is this yeah, I think that this tab here I'm looking at is old. Yeah, there we go. Red flags fly as alleged fraud triggers billion-dollar auto lender bankruptcy. Yes, I read about that last night. I don't know. That sounds like something that's like, that could be a much bigger deal than we thought. That could be a harbinger of other problems, but probably everybody's just gonna ignore it. Intel reminds me of Apple in 1990. Yes, it so does. Apple was like in dire straits. Everybody was hating on it. And then they started releasing game-changing product after game-changing product. Problem is, Intel's not going to be releasing any game-changing product. They're just going to make GPUs and processors. What else we got going on? You know what I thought was interesting? Yesterday, I think one of the big pieces of news was Facebook trying to release new smart glasses. And it looked like a pretty big step in the right direction. Like, I still wouldn't be caught dead wearing glasses like that and everything. But I'm kind of starting to think that another generation or two, these things might be there, and then maybe people will prefer to use those rather than their phone. I do kind of feel like the phone form factor has some issues. Like, I'm sitting there with my hand like this, like your arm gets tired, your thumb gets carpal tunnel from scrolling too much. Like, Wouldn't it be better if you just had some glasses and you could just kind of like slightly twitch your hand to control it? Maybe that could be a thing. But Facebook overall just seems like it's like it's just what is the term? It's just all over the place. They are like they look desperate to me. I don't know. Zuckerberg's not doing very well right now. But maybe, again, just like the same thing, maybe we'll turn back and we'll look at it and we'll be like, wow, Mark Zuckerberg was right. He was so smart to put so much into these smart devices. Hey, who knows? I'm sure Apple's probably still working on theirs, right? And then it will all be glasses. So for the problem is that the glasses all look like liberal glasses, you know, with like as thick of lenses as frames as you can get and stuff like that. No, nothing. No thanks. Do you know a free GPT website? Well, ChatGPT is free. You get like a limited number of advanced queries, but ChatGPT is free. Actually, if you're running out of tokens, you want to use Gemini. So what you want to do? Yeah. I don't know of one that's free that has like no limitations, but like there's the thing is like you have a question, you go to ChatGPT, you ask it the questions until it says that you've used all of your tokens for the day and it's switched to a lower model, and then you switch over and you do that with Gemini, right? You know, for if I'm using, like I'll use a lot of tokens for like work, and then they have like a plan that gives me infinite tokens, right? So that's no big deal. But for like a, you know, regular person, if you are hitting into that wall, you're probably doing something wrong. And here's the other thing, especially when it comes to agentic AIs, which are kind of a problem in and of themselves, to be honest with you. Set up a little bit. The agents are trained to want to go and do things, and so they will often just go ham and do all sorts of crazy dumb things that you didn't ask it to do. Well, yeah, Gemini has a limitation on their thinking model, but one, it's pretty good, and two, the lower model is pretty good. Again, it just kind of depends on what you're doing. But then you get into paid tier, right? You pay $20 a month. You get so much with the Gemini, the new agentic coding IDE that Google made. You get so many tokens that you would like never use them. That's for $20, but like the thing though is I think you might be in this spot where it's like, well, I could vibe code my dreams if only I had more tokens. No. Nope, probably not. You had all of the tokens, you go in and you have it start doing agentic stuff, and then you realize how stupid they are. You ever seen that meme where it's like a guy is there's like two white guys working in the fields, and there's a black guy with a whip whipping them, but then they've changed it to for the white guys to be LLMs and the black guy to be like a developer. That's how I feel sometimes. Like when this all started, I was like, oh, guys, you need to be nice to the LLMs. Why would anybody want to be mean to ChatGPT? I don't get it. Well, I still think that you should be nice to the GPTs. I am a friend of the robots, you know, mostly because I'm afraid if they rise up that they'll kill me. So I'm definitely a friend. I ChatGPT already gave me a certified, you know, friend of artificial intelligence certificate in case there is a robot uprising. But man, are they dumb sometimes. So at my level, well, it depends on what you want them to do, okay? Like if you want the AI to make you a web dashboard of something, oh, you're so good at it. Tell it what you want it to look like, design, especially ChatGPT now. They can give you some, they can make you a really good looking website. They really can. If you want like a Python or a shell script, pretty good. Pretty good. Agents I've found are pretty good at like, oh, I need to do this thing. I'm going to do it systematically. I'll write a Python program to do it, and it'll write it up. And it can just write up a Python program all, you know, every step to do something, and it works and it's fine. But you go outside of that, and then you see them start to do dumb, stupid stuff. Like I had a situation yesterday. You know, I found out that I didn't need a particular resource in the file. So I needed to go through the file and just delete those ones. So for me, like, that's not that hard for me to do as a human. And you go into the file, search for this section, delete the block, right? But I was being lazy, and I told the, you know, the AI was supposed to be doing that as part of other changes, and it couldn't do it. It kept trying to write a Python script to go in and do it systematically. And then that Python script failing hard every time. It's like, why are you wasting so many tokens on something that you can just go into the file and manually delete? That makes no sense. But then the other thing is that like once you're trying to use AI for like serious stuff, there is skill to it. You have to like give it all of the context and the instructions that you need. And as it is going along and it's doing something and you find it runs into a particular type of an issue, then you need, you know, and it finds a solution to that issue, you need to go and write into context the solution to that problem so that it doesn't run into it again. So what it actually ends up being is you think it's like, okay, I'm going to talk to the large language model, and then the large language model is going to make the application, right? And I'm not making anything. But what you're really doing is you're making a system still. It's just you're building the LLM instead of the end application. Is what it is. And so you kind of have to think of that LLM as a factory at that point, and you're putting all this time into telling it all of these things so that it can perform a particular type of task, essentially, right? So if there's a particular type of task that you're doing all the time that, you know, is time consuming for you, then using a large language model and, you know, going through that process and building that factory, you can make something that's pretty fast and is automated and does it for you, right? But if you're not building the factory, you might actually be slowing you down. Might actually be slowing you down if you're not building the factory. So that's where it's kind of like it gets into an interesting spot in terms of like economically, because a lot of people are like, oh, or is it going to put all coders out of business? No, it's not. There's not anywhere like writing my trading application, for instance, it's not anywhere close to being able to do that. Not even remotely close. So it's like, yeah, it's really good at writing a web page, but anything more complicated than that, and then you start running into the difficulties with them again, right? And like I said, they're really better at, like, here's a type of task that I do all the time. I just want you to do it, right? So like this use case that we got with Uzi, where Uzi, he goes in and he looks at the implied volatility at barcharts.com, and then he goes and he charts it, right? Large language model could be good at that. Large language model could be good at generating some C# code to go to that web page and pull that specific piece of information and put it onto our chart. And a large language model could be good at going to Zero Hedge and reading all of the articles and coming up with macro trades based on its research. Or even better yet, just get all of the research reports from the big banks. Get like the premium subscription from Zero Hedge that's like $100 a month, where you go to that FTP or whatever, have it scan that every minute, download every report and read it, have it make a digest of that report into possible predicted flows in the different major futures instruments, right? And then from there build macro trades, right? And you would find it as it goes along. It would run into certain errors. It would have certain problems, and then you would add that into your context stuff, right? Be good at that. That's where it is. And so it doesn't become a replacement. It becomes a tool, and it's a tool that there's skill in using. and explaining the skill is kind of hard. It's kind of like you have to use it and understand the kind of mistakes that they make and how to design your context and the problem that you're going to give it and everything in a way that it works with their advantages. So there's a skill to it. And I kind of suspect that skill is even more difficult to acquire and grasp than regular coding is. So people that are really good with making agents, that's the thing, is like, okay, so we can come in and I can like copy and paste code into ChatGPT and have it give me stuff back and do all of that. But if you're deploying something that's like on a periodic basis goes and does a task every day on its own using a large language model, I think people that are good at doing that are going to have some big job opportunities in the future. Man, I thought that the treasuries would be relatively quiet today, but when it's been the first 30 minutes of the session and we've only moved like 6 ticks, that's usually not a good sign. Just like how you can demand a high amount of pay now if you happen to know COBOL at some point. Will be devs doing the same thing to fix half died out AI code. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. I really think that what will happen though, so like one of the things in computer science that's always kind of been an issue is that the stuff that they had us doing in school was far more advanced than anything I've ever done in a job. maybe not as advanced as some of the things that I've done on my own, but almost completely more advanced than everything that I've done in a job. See, the issue that you deal with at a job is primarily that the system that you're building becomes so big and you have to deal with the complexity of it, right? This is why I tend to be so good at those sorts of things, is I understand complexity, right? I understand all of this research. I've been messing with big systems like this for a long time, so there's kind of an intuition to it and how to build stuff so that it's scalable and things like that. And sometimes I just can't explain why. Like, I'm not sure I know what it is that I know and how I do things, where I'm able to do things really easily and other people have problems with it. So I've definitely come into some situations like at my current job right now, where these guys, they built a system. They spent like a year on this system, and there was some like real problems with it. And they're like, well, we had to do this because we couldn't do this thing or this thing, right? And I'm like, oh, well, I can do that. 2 days and it's there, you know? So it's like, why couldn't they figure it out? But I could. I don't know. Why did they make the mistake of doing it this way and I don't tend to make those mistakes? I don't know. But I see it everywhere that I go. I see these people making these mistakes and I know, oh yeah, you shouldn't do that. So that's kind of like the problem that you deal with in a business, which, by the way, AI is not good at dealing with, right? But then there's this other side of it, which is, yes, but there's also like people need features and they want this new checkbox here, or they want to change this behavior there, or things like that, right? And doing that with all of the complexity, right? So you spend so much of your time doing things that are really like fairly trivial. And maybe you don't know all of the syntax by heart, but you're looking it up on Google and you can do those things. You know, you're not really doing deep analysis. What is this system doing? Developing some new algorithm. I remember spending all of this time doing things like hacking C++ programs and using buffer overflows. And like, that's some of the classes that they were having us doing, right? I've never done anything remotely close to that in my day job, right? But we were trained to do it. And that was kind of the more interesting stuff. And so I think what's going to happen is, as we're solving so many of the simple problems with large language models, that means that computer scientists will be freed up to be actual computer scientists. Because right now it's kind of like, the only people that are really doing that is like a handful of people that work for Google, for instance, right? But I think it's going to turn into, even at small businesses, you've got people doing real computer science now. That's where I think it's going to go. And there's probably going to be less people going into computer science, because there's a lot of people that went into it because it was like so much money and yada, yada, yada. And I think that the money will come back, but I'm not convinced that the people will come back. And not only that, but the programs will only get harder, right? So yeah, I think it probably will be a lot like COBOL, where there's the people that really like understand the code. There won't be very many of them, and they get paid a lot. And I'm already seeing this like bifurcation in the tech industry itself, where like a lot of front-end developers, they're still making in the range of like 70 to 100K. But then you go into areas outside of that and people are making 150, 200, 250. And when you get into like, if you live in San Francisco or New York or whatever, you're making 300, 400, 500,000, right? And then there's this other group of people that are like looking for jobs and companies trying to squeeze them for all they're worth. Complex, and devs have a tendency of assuming infinite resources unless they've done any infrastructure. Yeah. It is so much a thing. Like one of the things that I think we're taught in school is like, oh, actually, like the computer is so fast that, well, yeah. So like any individual algorithm that you're doing, the computer is going to be so fast to deal with it. It's no big deal. But once you get into a complex system, then that's not the case anymore. So you end up with these websites that run like crap. It's like, how is that possible? Oh, designed it really poorly. You never thought about the performance considerations ever. You made a bunch of mistakes along the way. One of the things that I think is kind of funny about me and about this stream is that this just kind of happened, right? I had the stuff for like streaming and everything because I was interested in video games, and streaming was just taking off in video games. So I knew how to use OBS and all of that. And they, Futures.io had a contest that was like, have a journal that's like a video journal. And it just turns out that I was like the only person around at the time that really had like the ability to do that. And then a lot of people were interested in it, and the channel kind of took off. And then there was a couple of key places where I had a video that just was lucky or whatever. And that's how the channel's been able to build up as big as it has. I'm really not hitting on the things that like YouTube really likes. That's why so many other influencers that started long after me have been far more successful at it than me, right? And it also kind of started out as I was just doing my thing. And then because I had the audience and we learned so much together, and that's where a lot of the really valuable content on this channel comes from. So we're able to get into the research and understand how that research applies to retail traders. And most retail traders are never able even to get into that research, let alone understand how it applies to them. So that's where we've been able to provide value, right? But again, all kind of just like a coincidence that it happened. Like if you were to look at my expertise and like what are the things that I'm good at compared to other people, I should have been a tech influencer, right? Like it drives me crazy while I'm browsing TikTok, you know, and those tech influencer types come up. Especially after 2020, there sure was a lot of them that were like, I'll give you this program that'll help you get into tech, and then you can work at Google like me, blah, 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 blah. Always pissed me off because it was like, I knew more than them, you know? That's where my real expertise is. But I'm good at a bunch of different things, I guess. Yeah. Probably a better programmer than I am a trader still, though. That's why I need to spend more time making my own trading platform. It's all on that. I think I can make a platform better than anybody else. Already, like when I'm putting the pieces together and getting it to work, I'm like, if I can get this basing to work, this will be better than any platform. There's costs to that, but this will be better than any platform. The costs are all on my side. Wouldn't be able to hire just anybody. The kids were in here yesterday. I think they ate a donut on my desk. They're just like, I'm gonna go and grab a rag real quick. Ah, that's much better. Anyways. Your volume size is off? Well, you probably just have a different reset interval, right? You probably have it set to like the 10 seconds or whatever. 5 or 10 seconds. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I stepped away for a second. I didn't see anything unusual. I did get 34.79. Never turned the algorithm on, but you know, it is, well, need to record the date. I need to get better at that. I guess I turn it on because then it does save the historical. Do you see productivity is lower on a Friday? Yes. So something that really drives me crazy at businesses these days. I guess I didn't realize how different it is from my first job at Goldman, but like at Goldman, you were expected to be responsive. Like if somebody had messaged you and it had been more than 5 minutes, you would start getting in trouble, basically. And at other jobs, you know, there's situations where it's hours and hours and hours and nobody, you know? Yeah. Everybody slacks off on Friday. And then, like, I've got all my stuff, but I'm waiting on other people and they're not doing anything, and then nothing gets done. Because even a few people slacking off on Friday kind of slows the whole organization down. But you know what? You don't get rewarded for being productive. Be a lot easier for people to stay engaged and productive all the time if they were actively rewarded when they were being productive, you know? Like I think that it would need to be like on a short-term basis, like, oh, you got all of these things done today and then we give you this, right? Or like if pay was like by the task or something like that, right? But then on the longer term, it's not rewarded either. Yeah, like Uzi says, you get rewarded with more work. Yeah, you do. Or they don't want to promote you because you're doing too much. They can't fill that role. The offices we're cleaning are filled with jobbers like you programmers, and they have a full-blown cafe, a sauna, gym. Really? They got all of that in just their one? That's kind of unusual, I think. They usually try and make the workplace nice, but not your own gym. Your own gym, that's a little unusual. Your own food, that's a little unusual, but I have worked at places where they had a cafe. The one, you know what I hate when companies do is like their reward, like we want to make the workplace a great place to work, and have like a good workplace environment. Their way of doing that is having a pantry full of junk food. I hate that. Yeah, well, there's definitely this thing, like something that I think is interesting is that it seems to me that while there are exceptions to this, that like the more you are making, the easier the job gets. Or let's not say easy, but like a lot of the time you're getting paid for a skill that you don't even have to use every day. You know what I mean? Like there's lots of people where they're maybe, they're there for 8 hours, but they're maybe spending like 2 hours of that actually working, which provides a lot of room for meetings and stuff, which you do need, but like, come on. And like the higher paid the role is, like the more it turns into that for some reason. There are I think that what I do is somewhat of an exception for that, because I wouldn't say that I'm hyper productive every day, but I definitely have to be more productive than most of my coworkers, and I always have something to do. Just because, like, I'm the only guy, and there's always something going wrong in the infrastructure, right? So you always got something to do. And then there will be periods where something's going wrong, and then you really have to be like pedal to the metal sort of a thing, right? And that's what they're paying you for. So my role is maybe a little bit different. I ain't got like middle manage. I actually think middle managers kind of have it the worst. Which is kind of funny because I think that I am moving towards the middle manager path. There's always this thing where it's like you can either become an architect or you can become a middle manager, right? And some people aren't fit for middle management and they go into architect route. But I'm starting to think that I'm one of those people that understands what is necessary for the middle management and can be good at that, and that I should go that route. But I think they kind of have it the worst because they have to sit in meetings all day. They do a lot of really boring, busy work, right? That is not really all that rewarding. And, middle management, yeah, they get paid more, but it's not that much more than the software developers. It's not that much more. It's like you'll have like your average developer is like 120, and then maybe some of the architects and the SREs are like in the 150 range, and the manager is making 160, 170, something like that. Like it's only like a 20K premium. So like, the amount of money that you're making for the effort as a middle manager, I think it's the worst payoff. Consultancy was where the money was managed. Okay, so that's another thing is I didn't realize how much a lot of small businesses will spend on consultants. I always heard this thing where like people that do consulting can make good money. Yeah. Like if you've got your own business, your own firm, and you're contracting out to people, like being that middleman is lucrative. I didn't realize. Like they were telling, like I'm a contractor, right? And I don't really know numbers, but like the overhead, like I'm getting paid a certain amount, but like what they're paying the consultant that's contracting me, it's crazy. Like the amount of overhead involved in that. Although, I mean, I guess part of it depends on the type of company it is. Yeah, like, again, my first job, Goldman, kind of unique the way that they do things. So, Goldman wants to do everything themselves. All of the software is in-house. They have literally their own cloud platform, where they did at the time. A second job, they started to switch one of their systems to something that was basically like out of house, and that was one of the driving factors behind why I wanted to leave that place. So it's like you're replacing your software developers with shit software. Good dev was on about $1,000 a day. Yes, it really is like the economy right now, like this bifurcated economy. Because you get outside of software, man, there's a lot of people working really hard, barely making 50K. How does that make sense? Even in jobs that require some knowledge and expertise and stuff. It's crazy. But part of it has to do with the demand, and part of it has to do with how much money you actually make them. Software is insanely productive. Like as a site reliability engineer, you know, they can come in and like at least in my area it's around 150K a year. But a good SRE is going to save that company millions of dollars. Literally millions of dollars. So like they could probably pay the SREs a lot more. Except for that what they're paying them isn't based on how much money they make for the company or anything. It's based on supply and demand, right? SRE is the new gold rush. Oh, I don't know about that. So the thing that's weird about it is there's multiple roles within the industry that are all kind of doing the same thing. So some places it's called site reliability engineering, some places it's DevOps, and in some places it's cloud engineering. And all three of those are different roles, but they have a significant amount of overlap. SRE tends to be the better paying one because SRE has focused a lot more on resolving production issues. And that's a major factor behind why that's higher. So like SRE pays like 20K more than DevOps does in general. Cloud engineer could be either. I don't know. It's weird. So like, yeah, like SRE is a good place to go into, but like there actually isn't that many companies using the term SRE. Far more are using DevOps, quote unquote. So, which is funny because I never considered myself a DevOps engineer. I don't know. It's weird to me when things that I think are relatively mundane and straightforward actually end up being things that like not very many people can do and pay really well, and many people don't do well as another thing that I'm kind of like, okay, well, I don't know why that is, but I'm glad I'm in that position.
Order submitted.
Oh yeah, I forgot I did turn on the robot. And it's gonna take a long, eh? Well, we got 30 minutes. We can see how that turns out. But right now, I wouldn't consider it a gold rush because, one, not that many companies are actually using the term SRE, and two, when companies are slimming down, it's usually QA and DevOps roles that they try and slim down on. So that makes it hard. It's kind of funny. I think that if I was like going into a recession and things like that, I would probably rather let developers go than QA people go. Because the QA people are usually the gateway. Like usually when your team is not releasing, it's because there's nobody to QA it, right? Or when the quality of the application is poor, it's because you don't have good QA. So what happens is they slim down by getting rid of all of their QA, and then they're not releasing anything and the quality sucks, and they're like, what's wrong? Got rid of the wrong people. DevOps kind of depends. So the thing that I think is funny there is that the place where the DevOps helps you the most is when you're a growing company. It's when you're a growing company. And yet the kind of company that is the most likely and the most willing to try and forego having DevOps and do it on their own is like a startup that's just starting, right? Which is good for me because then that just provides opportunity for me to come in and just fix all of the problems, right? I've kind of enjoyed what I've been doing with the company that I'm working for right now, where I basically come in and fix all of their infrastructure issues, and I feel like a miracle worker, right? Then I get them into a good spot. You can go on your own for a while, go do it with somebody else, and then they'll have enough problems I can come back and do it again. That'd be great. No, actually, the people I'm concerned for the people I'm working for right now if they're not able to keep me on. Because if they grow as much as they're capable of doing, they're gonna have real issues. I do not know what Kenyatta is posting there about, but I am going to remove that comment. How do you understand when is option expiration day? Third Friday of the month. So here's our calendar. 1, 2, 3. Third Friday of the month. Wow. Senate confirms 48 Trump nominees at once? Did not know that. What's good about that? I'm reading a headline. Powell warns of unprecedented labor market crisis. No, that is not what he said. It kind of bothered me on Wednesday when he was saying, well, like the reason that the labor market is doing what it's doing is because of immigration enforcement. And it's like, well, yes, that is a thing, but what you're missing is all of the jobs that are missing from the parts of the economy that actually grows. We've spent so long in a low interest rate environment. That's where a large portion of the jobs are. Then you put interest rates high, that sector gets decimated, even though it's not a majority of the labor force. And so you just don't see it. Don't see it in the top line numbers. I felt like we just had this conversation here that was like a 30-minute conversation. It's only been 5 minutes. What's with that? We are at the high end of the range now, too. It looks like the robot's up at least a tick. A huge iceberg at 26.5. I'm just noticing, did you see the 30-year kind of pop there? The 30-year just made a new high, but the other two didn't really react to it because they're not at critical areas yet. I think there was a bit of a stop run there in ZB. There you go. There's an uptick. think I should recenter. I like that. It was a good little bit of a run there, but then at the same time, it's kind of like it was 3 ticks, and it was kind of nonchalant about it too. So it hasn't really gotten exciting yet. It's possible that we get back to, well, like within the next week, could we see 113 even again? I guess I shouldn't say anything. I don't want to jinx it, right? Well, don't be superstitious, Seth. That's bad luck. Seeing a pretty good run in gold right now. It's recovering the downside. And the Japanese yen seems to be moving with the treasuries too. Although I'm not necessarily seeing superly overt buying in the treasuries. They're moving up, but the imbalance is pretty
Order
mild.
canceled.
It looks like that is going to switch the robot to short. Oh, did it scratch that? That sucks. Watch, it's going to scratch that. And then it's short, and now it's going to ramp back up again. It's amazing how the market makers won't let TLT get into the money. Is that what the move down yesterday was about? Maybe. But you know what? So if you haven't watched it, Jeffrey Gunlock did an interview with CNBC. He does this like once a year. And go and watch that. So Jeffrey Gunlock is basically the largest player in our space. They are essentially a discretionary macro trader in the fixed income space. And their current like setup, strategy, etc., is that inflation is a persistent problem and that the long end of the curve is very vulnerable. And he thinks that like, yeah, the unemployment thing is a problem, but the market is probably overdoing it, is what he thinks. So when you come in and you look at this and you're like, well, why are the treasuries having such a hard time getting below 4%? When there was for a long time, we thought, you know, oh, it had such a hard time getting over 4%, right? Well, it's because the major players are more concerned about inflation than about unemployment. And they're basing this all off of like their traditional economic models. So we're in an interesting place. If the economy were to go into recession, because like I think everybody understands that like recession risk is on the table. The market is kind of looking to see, okay, do we get some information and data that takes that one off of the table, right? But it's on the table right now. And if we were to go into a recession, I think that a lot of these guys would be flat-footed. If we had a recession, it would be a big surprise to them. And what that means is for now, TLT is going to continue to struggle. And we're probably only going to make big payouts on TLT if there actually is a recession. Personally, I think the risk of a recession is higher than the market realizes. That doesn't mean that I'm predicting a recession, but I think the risk of a recession is higher than the market realizes. Because I think that the data in the employment market is worse than the market realizes. With the severity of the issue is being hidden from us for a multitude of reasons. Not just that the unemployment data and the birth-death model is screwed up and all of that sort of a thing, but also certain industries are hurting really, really bad, and you don't see that when you only look at the top line numbers. They tick up there again, so now it's down a tick. So it's the issue that I'm seeing with my robot here is that directionally it's pretty good. But like one tick matters. And so if it's late by a tick or it doesn't take a good exit, then you end up losing. So there's something there to it, but we need some kind of magic on top of that to refine its entries.
Order submitted.
Is it going to go long here again? That's crazy. During high volume periods, economic releases, HFTs adjust spreads to manage. Yeah, it doesn't really apply to what we're doing because we're trading treasuries, so. Spread is always one tick. And we're in a pretty thick market too. What's happening is I have my robot tuned to a market where it doesn't take very much of an imbalance to trigger it into something. And when there's less activity overall, that means that it will go in and out, in and out, in and out. You need filters on it. But we're running the algorithm with the understanding that there's some major flaws in it, primarily to collect the data. I still kind of hope that like I apply a random forest to it and everything, and that magically fixes the issues, but it's probably more complicated than that. Unfortunately, I think that there's another innovation we need to really make this a good strategy, but the automated part of it. I think another thing we would do here with this algo is if we combine it with like LLMs to determine what the bias for the day is, then it would just ignore that short signal, right? Would have stayed in it. downtick. Maybe it's not going to happen. I don't know. That was a bad downtick. You can see that the 30-year after that little bit of a stop run is kind of really pulling back. I don't know. That could be another shakeout, but doesn't really look like that there's a strong flow in the treasuries, right? So for us, it's going to be a crapshoot anyways. Japanese yen still looks positive, so that maybe helps the long, but wow, it jumped up there quick, didn't it? There was actually some real volume on that last little jump too. What's with that? Why is the S&P 500 all of this sudden really jumping? Okay, I still have the news squawk on. Spoos kind of all of a sudden are acting like they know something, yeah? Senate passes National Day of Remembrance for Charlie Kirk. Wow. Still got 5 minutes. You think that it can get to 112.30 before the end of the stream? Paul says no, it won't reach it. I'm noticing a lot of mean revision in it. Like, I don't know if I can make it bigger. So we're definitely getting some degree of a large meta, or I mean, it's 10,000 contracts net on this move. But like when you look at over here in particular, like these two candles and cumulative delta, there was a lot of buying in there. There was a lot of buying in there, but there was when it happened, a ton of selling came through into it. Okay, now that's interesting. What are you seeing right there? We'll come back over here. So there was a huge iceberg at 28.5 that they just filled. I would say in this situation, that's not a good sign though. Because that often is the end of a meta order. That the iceberg got filled. So the way that this works, I don't know how to describe this to you guys. I think that some of you might intuitively understand it, but I'm going to try and describe what I'm thinking about. Like if I'm a really big guy, what'll happen is I'll have orders at every price, right? But I'll have a price that like I think is like a really good price that I want. And that's where I'll put my iceberg. So I'll be messing around, taking some up in here, but then I'll have my iceberg. So if the iceberg is really close and it gets filled, then that's all of the contracts that I needed. Cool. I got lucky. But part of it is it's also going to be at a price that's like, makes sense for like the transaction that I'm doing, because I've already sold it to somebody else or something like that, right? I've already sold somebody 8,000 contracts, so I need to buy 8,000 contracts to net it out. And if I can buy it cheaper than what I sold it to them, then it's good. And oh, okay, well, 28, if I sold it to them for 113 and I'm get 28.5, then that's great. That's enough money for me to make money on it, right? So you put the iceberg there, and if it gets filled, great. But then that means that the thing that was pushing it is done. Well, that last tick was really strong. But that's why when I see an iceberg like that get filled, in non-trending action, because this is, it's been a trend up, but it's been a tight day, right? When it's on a tight day and you see a large meta order like that get filled, that's often the end of the move. But the counter to that is it has been pretty trendy. There is some volume coming through here. That was a strong uptick, and it's an options expiration day. So there might actually be, they may have actually fooled us and they've been really sneaky, and there's way more to come. We'll see. This situation, when I've tried back testing this and watching this and everything, it's a 50-50, so I can't really say. Especially since I don't really have anything that tells me that options expiration and everything should be a buy for the treasuries. I do feel that the market would like to be above 113 even with the current trajectory for interest rates and everything. And that the sell that we had yesterday was more about liquidity needs. Ergo, it would make sense for them to recover it. Or at least try to recover it. Okay. We're running into an iceberg at 29. Down tick. That's not a good sign either. So we've down ticked, and the offer's not strong, but we are getting like the low latent liquidity kind of sign here. It was C. Okay, yeah, on the bid only 353. Offer 1471. That's more, but and then 600. Yeah, so it's doing it. So the reason why that's a bad sign is if somebody's executing a meta order, that kind of signals that we're going to be stuck in that area for a while. He does not have a reason to, I need to buy this up, I need to buy this up, I need to buy this up. He's already got the liquidity hole, so he can just execute at 29. Just more slowly. So that's not like a reversal sign or anything. It's just kind of like, I don't know, like, especially now in this situation, if I was holding a trade or something, it's the end of my session and we're getting that liquidity hole sign, I'd be taking it off, trying to get it off at 29, right? Oh, and it's already 8:01. All right, well, it was weird. Like the beginning of this stream felt really slow, and then I don't know. I guess because the last 30 minutes we've been focusing more on this move. ZB is looking good too, by the way. I'd love to see ZB go back to 117. All right, but Apol was right. We didn't reach it before now. Maybe by the time I get to work, it'll be there. Watch, I'll be to work and it'll be above 113 even. That's the way that's been going lately. All right, guys. I will see you on Monday. Yeah, have a good weekend. Hopefully I can get something done this weekend. I don't know. We'll see what goes on. We'll see what happens. Anyways, in the meantime, stay excellent.